And the tinted windows, we're a little nervous about the tinted windows.
That was you over on the side.
Yeah, you don't need
We'll call the meeting to order. Kevin, call the roll, please.
All right, Chair Harry Meyer. Here. Vice Chair Gary Delvaux. Here. Jim Bloomer. Here. Alderman Joe Moore. Present. Melanie Parma asked to be excused. Matt Schuler asked to be excused. Tom Weber.
Here. Okay, as for motion to approve the agenda that's sent out to everyone.
So move.
Joe, Tom, those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried. Approval of the minutes as sent out some weeks ago.
Move to approve. Second.
Gary, Tom?
No.
Jim? Okay, Gary and Jim. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried. Communications none, old business none. New business, are we going into executive session now? Or
So what we have here for the two requests, number one and number two, are for some planning options on property that the RDA owns. Both of the applicants, the clients are here to speak on their behalf, to kind of give a broad overview of what they're proposing at these sites and requesting that option. We did put closed session language on here. There are some things for each of these clients that they feel are proprietary at these points in terms of their business plans, and also in terms of us just kind of negotiating the long term of where we're ultimately going to be, selling this property or both of these properties. We just reserve that on there if we need to do that. But I think, at first we can just keep it in session, have the discussion, and we'll defer to some of the clients for some of the things that, again, kind of speaking from a business practice that they feel, are best talked about and discussed and closed. But with that, I believe we can just start and start the discussions for these items in open session.
Make a motion to open meeting.
Who's presenting? You?
This would be Wendy, if you want to talk a little bit about just start with one.
Okay, why don't I talk about first? Sorry about
When is it?
Hi, good afternoon. We have been excited about the former Shower and Schumacher building and looking at a letter of, or a planning option agreement for that property, and we've been working with the developer on that and have that to propose to you this afternoon. So that's kind of the food in, but we have a planning option would allow the developer time to complete all the due diligence necessary to determine the physical and financial feasibility of constructing a multiple-story mixed-use development, including residential, retail, and commercial uses on this property. And we've attached the planning option agreement as presented by the developer. Okay, and I have the developer here as well.
We'll have to have a motion to open the meeting for public discussion.
So move.
Second. Gary, Tom, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right. Bring it on, Wendy.
All right. Great, perfect.
Hello.
Hello again.
How you doing? Hello again.
Yes.
So I guess, as Wendy stated, we've, now it's been about, I think, almost 3 months since I was here last time. We've been working with Wendy and with the city and also on our own behalf in kind of furthering along the plans. And at this time, I kind of think we're at a point where we would like to get the planning option and also get some answers on the city's behalf of assistance in many different forms as far as parking with availability in the city and what can be done to create more parking or more availability on that aspect was kind of a major factor as to whether or not our plan for the building would work. And then along with state tax credits, city tax credits, those are kind of our main focus at this point. We've spent a very small amount of money with architects. We've had some construction firms in the space as well in the past month or so. So we're kind of at the point where I'm as far as I can go, or as far as I'm willing to go, before I'm willing to spend real amount of money beyond what we've already spent to figure out those actual costs. We currently have several tenants that are interested, assuming that we can get their leasing rates at a place that works for them, including myself as a tenant with a business that I propose to put in there, the event space. And so we feel as though we have enough occupancy to move the project ahead. we're comfortable with the 6 months as far as, enough time to get things in order, and, we would like to be under construction in 6 months as well, assuming that those financial factors fall into place where we need them to be.
Can you give us a little bit of
Go
an
ahead.
overview again? I know it's been a while, and my memory is kind of short, of what you're really proposing, kind of the breakup. I know you're kind of space and that, but
So the event space is the main, so that would be the whole second floor on that corner unit to the south side of the alley. That's kind of the main focus for the whole project. Without going too far into detail, we have tenants to fill the first floor of that entire corner. We also have a tenant for the other side of the alley for the entire first floor, and a potential tenant for part of second floor.
are these all retail, commercial, residential?
All of those spaces would all be commercial.
Okay.
And the residential aspect to the building would be there, as you see, could potentially, we're looking at the third floor. We talked with the city a bit about the potential to be able to build up from that building further down the line, which would the idea behind that would be additional residential. And the second floor on that space with the white there was another potential residential space or commercial space, just depending on how those tenants kind of fell into place. There's a basement floor, I guess it's the first floor is a half a floor up. And so we have plans on developing some retail space on that lower level as well, which we have a potential tenant for. And then the rear space of that bottom floor would be, mechanics and maintenance space. So
Is parking critical to this project going forward?
it is.
Do you have any ideas to how many spaces you might need?
So the idea with the event space, we had an architect firm lay out the event space for max potential as far as capacity to, seated events, standing events, and what he theoretically thought that we would be passed on as far as fire capacity and those things. And so we're looking at capacity somewhere around 350 people for that event space. On average, for a 350-person event, we think we need close to 200 parking spaces in all for a 350-person event. So with that in mind, obviously, with my existing space on Broadway, we have 52 parking spaces. We do events up to about 175. We've done as high as 225, utilizing multiple spaces in the building that I own, and had no issues with parking. Obviously, there's more street parking available there, but based on those factors, we've never had an event where we didn't have enough parking, but there's more availability in our neighborhood with the Titletown space, and there's just more spaces in general. And so in kind of a brief conversation with the city, we discussed the ideas of potentially leasing space from other people that own spaces downtown, businesses, for the evening hours. I mean, that's the majority of events of that size would be happening in the evening and also on weekends. So there is some parking available, based on potential agreements with private ownership, but we certainly need or would need access to other parking. So between the parking ramp, the parking lot down the street parking, there has to be, that's a major factor of what happens or doesn't happen.
Most of your events, evening, after-hours type events, weekend, or?
I would say majority of events of that size would be weekend and after 6 o'clock in the
Typically
evening.
frees up some parking.
Right.
I got a question for Kevin and Wendy. Do you see within 6 months this turning into a development agreement? Is that the process we see happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Just,
In general?
yeah, you know
Okay.
as well as we do,
Right.
that the city's been into this for a little while.
Yep.
And it's our intent on, working with the client and they've got some due diligence to do, and
Yes.
this gives us the ability to negotiate and start to work on some of those things when we
Yeah.
come into a development agreement.
Okay.
Do we know where we are availability-wise with parking spaces, particularly like the garage? And do
We looked at this a little bit when we did Watermark a year ago, and we still have some flexibility in some of our spaces downtown. I mean, I know we've started the discussions about long-term parking, we're going to build another garage in the future, but I think there's some options that, if we can identify, where those things are at, and again, time and peak loading, that, we have flexibility to make it work.
Do you know already if this building foundation could carry another story?
No, we don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's part of the,
Yeah.
Right. Kevin, I don't see anything, this looks pretty boilerplate as far as a planning option. I don't see anything different than typical.
No, pretty straightforward. Yeah, again, I mean, just
Yep.
what we're interested in is time and, again, working towards an agreement.
Are there issues that we should be aware of that we would need to go into closed session for?
There's nothing from the city's side, and I think, if you're comfortable in terms of where the client is presented, where they're going,
Oh, yeah.
and you're comfortable with it, then there's no need to.
We get a letter. Are you still pretty excited about it, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's the,
Are you going to keep the 335 space
Yes.
operating?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
yeah, this is a different, similar
Yeah.
aspects, but different business
Right.
completely. So.
Your approval of this today will elevate this in the city. I mean, we've got a lot of projects, but this needs a lot of work.
Sure.
From both Chris's investors and Chris's standpoint and the cities, and some of those questions you just talked about, and Bay Lake and Northland and everything that has to be involved in this.
Any additional questions? Motion to return regular to business? First, Joel. Tom? Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
A motion and a second then to return regular to business. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Should we act on that then?
I'd make the motion to approve the 6-month planning option. Second. With swell space.
Okay, motion by Joe, second by
Jim, I think it was.
Eric.
We did Jim.
Jim, okay. You heard the motion then to approve the planning option for the Adams Walden Street project. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 2, a request by Root Lee, or Root Y? LLC for a 6-month planning option for the property located at the 900 block of Cedar Street and 1907 815 Main Street. Now, what's your, Wendy again? Wow, Wendy, you know that?
Busy only.
Well, we're busy in our department, which is fantastic, but it also is springtime, so we always want to see a lot of great activity happening all the time. But this is the property, and I don't know, do you have a map on this? Perfect. So you'll recognize this location as Cedar and Main Street. It's the 900 block of Cedar Street, and the parcels that we're looking at here are some city-owned parcels. It's 901, 907, and 913 of Main Street. So you'll see the parcels on there of 9-48, 9-47, and 9-46. These parcels, we've checked with staff to see if we are interested in developing them and moving some kind of development forward. And we checked with our departments, and it's the feeling that we would like to see something prosper and happen on these locations. So we have had 2 developers come forward. We did an RFP on this location, and that's what you'll see in front of you. So this the planning option that's presented on this particular spot is would allow the developer time to complete all the due diligence, of course, necessary to determine the physical and financial feasibility of constructing a multi-story mixed-use development, including an event meeting space, some retail spaces, and commercial uses on this particular spot. So it's an important corridor on our main street, and we think that this kind of lends itself to kind of tying in downtown and Main. It's a great spot. So the right development would do the right thing for this spot. So that's what I
Is there
have.
somebody here today, Wendy?
Yes, we do have the developer to speak to
Ask for
this.
motion to open the floor for.
Quick question, Eric, for
Yep.
Lindy.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
The lot behind 48, 49, we have no, that's the furthest lot, northwest. That's not involved in this at all.
No, so there's the section
Just
that you're
the two-
seeing to the east section is the Greyhound station. The city owned, or the RDA owns these parcels. And I believe our other department,
The city owns the other two, so
40.
today's planning option is for the RDA lot.
Okay.
The
No,
idea
I would-
behind it at 900 is not in this mix at all.
no, it is not.
Okay.
That is owned by another property owner.
So 9-46 and 9-47 is not part of what we're talking about.
No, that's owned, the RDA owned parcel is what we're discussing as part of this development, but they're all contiguous, so to not mention them as part of what's going on would be amiss. But the RDA parcel is what this body needs to be evaluating for
Okay.
this.
So we're
I drove by
proposal.
there today and did I see a for sale sign? For the city of Green Bay on this parcel we're talking?
I believe you did, yep.
Okay.
And Ken, in our property management piece, has been aggressively marketing these parcels.
So if we approve this planning option, that for sale sign is coming off because we have 6 months it's going to be planning option.
That would be correct.
Okay.
You can still gather investors with a sales sign. I'm surprised. But correct, did I misunderstand something? 946 and 47 are not part of what we're discussing today, or they are, along with 948?
They,
Three parcels?
they are, your approval is for moving forward
Just the one?
with RDA. EDA is also looking at this.
Okay.
Their meeting
Tomorrow.
is tomorrow at
No, I
4:30.
Then both of them
Gotcha.
will land on the same.
So-
Tied together, you can only approve what you own.
Right.
Right.
Right, I understand.
So we're going through both committees because both committees are involved. But
Right.
this particular committee should be aware of the entire
Yes,
project,
Yes.
but your piece of the project is the 9-48.
Just 48.
gotcha.
Thank you, which is 901. Is everyone
Okay.
clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay, did I explain it thoroughly?
Oh, yeah.
All right, perfect. Any
Motion
other
to
questions?
open the floor for
So
discussion.
moved.
Tom?
Second.
Gary, those in favor say aye. Opposed, carried.
Come on. I'd like to introduce,
Hi, Ray. I'm John Bonacore. How are you?
Hi, John.
I'm here representing the team. One of the members should be here tomorrow. He's flying in from San Francisco. Just to give you a brief overview and due to the sensitive nature of our facility and business plan, I'd like to request, prior to the end of my conversation, a closed door meeting.
Okay.
I do have a rendering I'd like to show everyone. I'm excited to show everyone. But basically, our facility and our programs will share synergies with local colleges, high schools, government, corporations, small businesses that will create a collaborative community. Creating jobs, 7 directly, which is a very lowball number, along with 30 internships and up to 300 indirectly, with the use of office, event, retail, and creative workshop space. Project will generate new business to Green Bay, and with the new residents and visitors, it also fits well into the city's effort to improve and beautify this particular area of downtown district. The planned facilities are attractive and unique in style that is more of a sculpture piece of art than just architecture. As a result, bringing an undeniable sight to see in Green Bay right at our downtown entrance. The facilities can be for public and private use with green space, retail space, multiple event and meeting spaces for small and large events, up to 300 people, creative workshop space, small dog park, collaborative office space, and private office spaces. The facility will also feature the latest green design and efficiency, as well as have some of the latest interactive technology in the market, making it a great attraction with a museum-like feel. Space will be a catalyst for the city and surrounding neighborhood, both physically and culturally. And once again, due to the sensitive nature, we've had several construction companies out to the site, but there's a lot of moving parts in this project. I briefly met with the city and Mayor Schmidt just very briefly months back. I'm looking forward to a meeting with all the team. They're traveling from Milwaukee and out of state as well. So it's a pretty big project with several interested parties. And we're requesting for the 6-month option so we can further do our due diligence.
Sure.
And in a closed door session, I have a rendering I'd like to share a little more with you, but obviously it's sensitive, so,
Question regarding, you said a small dog park.
yes.
And that's going to be a private dog park that's going to be maintained and managed by?
Oh, we will take care of it as a part of the whole facility.
much as just deed over, was it to the park, to the city park.
Okay.
That's up to you if you want to go into closed session and see this. Yeah, you thought that last project you approved needed a lot of work? This needs a really lot of work. I mean, John wants to get moving on this, so I think it's up to you if you want to see his renderings. You heard the concept. We support it as a city. The RDA owns the property. We got EDA tomorrow, and then we have obviously a private owner too.
Yeah, I think that motion, would go into closed session, I'd like to see that rendering.
I agree.
Tom, you want to read the,
Sure.
the creed?
Motion, the authority may convene in closed session pursuant to section 1985 1E Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, invested in public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive and bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 1985 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. That's the move.
Second.
Kevin, you want to call roll
Sure.
on the motion?
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Gary Delvaux.
Here.
Jim Bloomberg.
Here.
Joe Moore.
Yes.
Tom Weber.
Okay, we'll-
Jeff Marcus will stay. Are you okay with that? Or not? Dude, what do you want to hear? I mean, he can stay or...
Vanessa, how long have you lived here now?
I like
Do you have to call roll for that?
Yeah, I'll call roll to go back into regular session. I know, just for your information, once you open it back up, you had the floor open when you went into closed session. The other individual, other party that was interested in this, I think is here, probably did want to speak. And I'll just refer this when it comes back. We did have interest from two parties, and so that's why we did put out just a basic RFP about 2 weeks ago. We asked for all materials next Thursday. The second applicant actually did not turn the materials within time. That said, public meeting, if you wanted to speak, they could hear. So I'm just giving you a heads up ahead of time.
All right, good.
All right, so we'll go back into regular session. Harry Meyer.
Yes.
Gary Delvaux. Jim Bloomberg. Yes.
I'm having a hard time.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So we're back in open session.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated.
Very excited.
Yeah, that's what we said I need to do. Yeah.
Do you want me to speak to what it's been submitted, or do you want to send the report to him?
Did you say we're still?
You still had, when you went into closed session, you still had the floor open.
Okay.
So if there's any other parties that wanted to speak.
For the public, I'd just like to report in the 2 meetings of discussions that we only went into closed session for one, but.
Right, right.
Yeah, we talked with the potential developer for a site, as everybody knows, it's on Main Street and, is that Quincy?
Cedar.
Cedar Street. And we looked at some of the roles that the city would have to play in the ultimate development in this area. And we extended an opportunity for a, we did not give the option, we just had the discussion on that property, so. We will now move into,
Floor's open. Floor's open. Floor's open. Anyone else wants to comment on that?
Yeah.
oh,
Did it go? Sure.
Yeah.
They're discussing that property.
Yeah, oh yeah, right next to the property I own there. Yeah. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Bartokowski. I currently have a business at 900 Cedar Street, which is the building that is surrounded by the properties we're discussing today. I would also like to develop that location. I'm not quite as sophisticated at this point, but I would like to develop it. I'm not asking the city to put any monies in or tax abatements or anything like that. What I'd like to do is put in the green area there, the one we're talking about, is a historical building with retail location, housing art, architectural antiques. I'd like to do a garden around it, green space, and with expanded parking along those two other areas which we're not talking about. And that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Do Did you say that you actually own that square building?
Yep, I own the square building there.
Okay, got
Yeah.
you. Smileys, or is
Yeah. It was my intention to, you know, I kind of went backwards on all of this. I should have approached the city and said, you know, I'm buying that building at 900 Cedar Street. What can you do for me with the rest of the property around it? And I, you know what, didn't do it that way. But shame on me. Maybe this is a learning curve for me. But anyway, so I'd like to also develop that, meet everything to code and exceed that. And I think I have proven. I also own a building on Broadway at 159 North Broadway, which is housed with currently Prohibition Spirits is in that building over there. You know, there is one issue. I don't know if you can put a parking, you know, in that, or all parking goes behind it, but there is an issue with it. You know, the warehouse next to that has semis that actually block Cedar Street. And it's not been an issue for me. We've worked around it, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, that's my proposal, is to erect a 100-year-old structure there, historical building. The type of business I do now, I'm in the antique business. I also repair clocks and watches at my location. We also house artists on the second floor. We have 3 artist studios and an apartment at my current location. And we'd also like to make that an event center as well, too.
Kevin, you mentioned earlier that we're going through an RFP process. Could you go over that again, where we're at with that?
All right, so at our last meeting, we brought these properties up just for discussion in
Yes.
terms of how should we proceed moving forward with them, just because there has been some interest, and then we noticed, okay, RD owns property, ED owns property, what should we do in the best interest of the city as a whole?
Yes.
So with that, once we got direction to move forward from both RDA and EDA, we realized that we had 2 different clients who
Yep.
were interested in the property. Both brought different visions of what that area should be.
Yes.
So with that, just in order to kind of do a screening process, and for us, we put out a basic, simple RFP that just basically asks, okay, what are you going to do with the property,
Yes.
potential value, and just what you could answer at this time. Put that out 2 weeks ago. We asked applicants to submit everything by last Thursday. And then we, team from ED Planning, were to meet and discuss and basically go through, rank, score, and submit a recommendation to you. With that, we only received 1 application at that time, and so we decided to move forward with that application.
Okay.
That being said, I know, you know, given the property owner, you know, being adjacent to these parcels, I think we've recommended going forward with another party. I think that party is open and willing, and that's, again, the city's prerogative, that we're also working with existing pieces that are in place.
Yes.
To see if there's some things that can accommodate. I know Mr. Barkov, he's had some concerns about parking and additional spaces, and I think there may be some opportunities to work that in.
Okay.
But with that, at this time, that the city feels that the best option at this time is to go with Route WI for this planning option.
Maybe, David, your vision does not include the bus station property? Is that correct?
Not at this time. I think they're asking a bit much for it. I think it was $280,000 last time I inquired. It could be less now. But that seems a little pricey, although the property's, it's a great location. I think the city, I think the owner should probably, it'd make a great Starbucks location, and I think, I told Wendy that too. I called her up and said, you guys should present that to Wendy's, I mean, to Starbucks. Anyway, I'm at a little disadvantage here. I met John, this was probably a couple of months ago, John, right? And he had told me his interest was the bus station over there. I had no idea. And I opened my mouth up and I said, well, I'm trying to get the property next to me here. That was months ago. And I guess, like I said, I'm a little late here. Yeah, a little late for the party, I guess. But I'd still like to be considered for that property. I don't know if you've all made that decision, but
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
I can explain to David, for the record, that's what they're discussing right now is a decision on this project.
Oh, okay.
So there's been no decision made. I want him to be clear.
Well, I thought they had mentioned that it had been.
No.
No.
Okay, okay. I appreciate it then, thank you. Please give me a consideration on it.
Make a motion, go to regular order of business, let's get some more questions.
No, just for Kevin, so.
Okay.
Second.
motion is second, then return to regular business. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
As a fallback, can we give an option to both of these entities? I'm just using the second one as something that doesn't come through on the first one as a fallback.
I mean, I think at this time, I mean, you want to give site control to one party.
I think so.
Right.
If one of the things that you want to do, and I mean, an option
Well,
of the RDA, if you want to
Even
shorten
not
the
site
option period.
control, Even not site control, but more just
I
bringing in the
suppose-
RFP question. I mean, giving them a period of time saying, we'll certainly accept if you want to submit your basic design for the property as he described it, but more in an economic sense and without giving them site control. I suppose that's pretty difficult for him to do. Although what's he got? I mean, he's not interested in the bus depot, so what's he need site control for? He's got his parcel.
I mean, an option of the RDA too, I mean, we've recommended 6-month planning option if you want to shorten due diligence time, you can do that. Just given, now, although we didn't receive a formal RFP from some of the things that I've, I guess, seen or heard, and I, would defer to Wendy in terms of she's been working with both of the clients, I think the recommendation would probably still be the same at this point.
There's a lot of moving parts in this particular project, and I think that we need the 6 months, to be truthful with you. And I think that we've gotten to the proper procedure, the RFP process, and we're dealing with what was submitted. With that in mind, I make a motion that we give Root WI LLC a 6-month planning option for properties located as discussed.
I'll second that for discussion.
Second.
I just wanted to make offer an amendment to that motion, Gary, if you'll accept it, that planning option would be contingent on EDA approval of properties 9-47, 9-46, just so we don't tie this one up without having the approvals on the others.
I accept that, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that was a motion, Joe?
His motion, my
Yeah.
second.
All right, then we have a motion and a second. The second includes the amendment that Joe proposed. Any further discussion? We'll vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So be it. We move on to number 3. Request from staff to hire a permitter to complete the Stadium Entertainment District, also known as Uptown.
What's that?
Master plans.
All right.
Kevin, I assume you're up on that?
Yep, so before you, this is, I just passed around a copy of the proposal that was submitted by Rebecca firm out of Madison. As you know, this has been talking about how we're going to move forward with what's called the Up-Down District, Stadium Entertainment District, roughly the area south of Lombardi, east of Brett Favre Pass, all the way to Ashland, and then down to the city limits border with Detroit. I believe Mr. Weber, you're pretty familiar with this.
I drive it every day, a couple of times.
This has really shifted over the last few years, from an industrial area to areas used primarily commercial uses, restaurants, the hotel, Tundra Lodge there. And we're kind of at a crossroads point of two things. One, as we finally build out the rest of this area, what are the proper uses for that area? And what are we going to recommend, and what are we going to encourage, and what are we going to recruit and go after for this? Both in commercial, but also, there are some residential opportunities down here. And then the second, how do you get around here? Streets are easy for the most part, but, Brett Favre Pass with that creative little elbow kind of makes it hard to get from here to there.
Yes.
And then also pedestrian circulation. You look at events on game day, and that's game day at Lambeau, that's game day at the Resch, or during events at Shopko Hall. It's difficult to be moving around. So the city put out a request for proposals. We were talking about this, communication, Alderman Weary had also put something out about looking into, some zoning in this area, put that through planning commission. This basically all funneled into, all right, let's hire a consultant to help us address those two things, land use and the pedestrian circulation. With that, we went through a process, sent this out to 12 firms, six submitted. We basically went through those, and brought in 3 for interviews, went through a score sheet, and felt with this, Beerbecker was the best qualified to do this. In terms of the request here before the RDA, this went before Planning Commission last night, just in terms of approving the scope of it, and moving forward with Beerbecker, they did recommend approval. For RDA, this is a request to use funds from TID 7, which is the Lombardi-Ashland TID, no more than $40,000 to complete this study. We had talked about initially, request for surplus funds or request for TID funds. Given that this is in a TID and reading through the TID plan, allocating within that project plan, I think it had up to $3 million for pedestrian enhancements and things like that. We felt this was an appropriate use to figure out where we should do that and how we should start to move forward with it. So with that, the price, I believe, quoted in the proposal itself is $36,000 for the core services. There were 2 additional options, one for just a quick TID analysis, and the other for some specific site development scenarios, where they'd actually take a vacant site, like let's say the area in front of Tundra Lodge, or one of the grassy properties, and say, here's potentially how you could do some redevelopment on that area. So with that, the request would be for authorization not to exceed $40,000 to hire Beerbecker to complete this study.
What's the South Street? Is that McCarthy Way or?
McCarthy Way, so the city doesn't go all the way to McCarthy Way.
Right.
It's basically the property lines in between McCarthy and Tony Cannondale. One of the things, early on I've talked with Ms. Sanchez over at the Village of Ashwaubenon, and it'll be clear that the consultant will be engaged with them as a stakeholder. They have a vested interest in getting some connections through there as well,
Right.
long-term. And again, they have some redevelopment ideas there, so just making sure those are compatible.
Home grid on the west.
Almost a home grid. Again, not the city, but basically behind. So basically the back wall of Stadium
Brett
View.
Favre's
Yep.
restaurant is.
Yep, Stadium View is out, but Brett Favre's is in.
Okay. How many acres is it, you know?
Just under, I think it's in there, I want to say 60 altogether.
Where are we gonna get the money to pay for this?
TID 7 is the request. So we have, I've talked to the finance director, just the TID is healthy enough to support it. It meshes up with the TID plan in terms of what, it's called for spending in there. Some of the projects in the plan we haven't done, so we haven't had the development, but we also have the TID expenditures. But one of the items in there is for pedestrian enhancements.
How long will the study take?
We should be wrapped up by early fall.
How many years left on that, Jeff?
This is until, pull it up, I want to say, there's a plan here. I believe it started in 2001, that sounds correct. And it is, let me pull the right one up here. I had it in here. I want to say 26. There's still about
12 years.
13 years left in the TIF.
27-year life on that?
Correct. And that's, I'm just trying to pull out here to get the exact.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if it's shorter than that, it doesn't give us a lot of flexibility for repayment. 12 years is probably okay.
Yeah, it's more than 10.
Yeah.
Kevin, would you repeat the main focus of the study?
Two ones. One, future land use. Like what should it be? What types of uses should we have in this area? And then second, how do you move people around on foot?
Now, would this include that there's some private entities there that we'd have to buy them up? Or would that be a recommendation, you think?
Not necessarily buying them up, it's getting them involved. I mean, the nice thing about this area is that there's actually only a handful of property owners.
Right.
So involving them in the decisions that are made, and then also bringing in, some residents from the north, that this is an area very accessible to them. Maybe some of the things that come out of it too is like just some better ways to cross Lombardy and make that access a little better. But yeah, one of the primary things the consultant will do is just get a stakeholder group together right away.
Do we happen to know whether the Packers have any interest in this area at all?
We will bring them in as a stakeholder. Again, we're not going to quote unquote compete with what they're
Right,
doing.
yeah.
Again, there's a different area. This has already been built up a little bit and a different vibe, and there's things that complement each other. One of our advantages here is we're close to the Resch and we're close to Shepko Hall. So in terms of just kind of the spillover crowds before and after, things that can do to that. Also, just, potential residential components. I mean, I think that's something that we all look at of what type of housing products do we offer here in the city? And we've asked the consultant, would, if any, types of residential things work here?
And this company you're recommending, this is right down their line?
It is. That is correct. Yep.
What's the backup plan in case the costs come in higher? I mean, that's pretty common. You get into these and they say, well, you can do this, you can do that, whatever.
Well, that's why I guess I kind of put 40,000 because the 36,000
Okay.
does cover the plan, and then we'll see how that goes.
All right.
It allows room for to add one or two of the options. Yep.
Okay. Joel?
You see me way down here.
Add red eye or something.
I'm just curious what the other bids came in at. I mean, did we have something that came in at a lower price, or is it really the familiarity of the project leader being a former city employee? I'm just curious if
Sure.
our familiarity with him is kind of what pushed us over the edge.
Two things. The three that we interviewed were all very close in price. I don't have them right before me, but they were all right around $35,000, $40,000.
Okay.
Two that we pushed out were up around 50, 60, and it just wasn't worth it.
Sure.
The thing, and I can get the score sheets, that differentiated this firm from the others is they didn't have an exclusive focus on the Packers. But they did not exclusively focus on activating this event for game days. They looked at two things. One, the importance of, again, Shopko Hall and the Resch Center in terms of all the things that go on there, the potential future development or redevelopment of Shopko Hall and the exposition center there, and also the consideration of looking at how do you tie this back into the community, and that this is not just like a game day kind of place, other opportunities to have this operate more, again, for some of this neighborhood service here. It's a gateway into this entertainment area, so let's make use of it, but, those are only so many days per year. And those are some of the things that, at least the panel that we were on, the panel involved folks from economic development, planning, public works, parks, and the mayor's office. So we all basically, took a look, and that's what we felt most comfortable with.
Okay, well, I do see the project
Yep.
leader is, Dan Lindstrom, who did the University Avenue plan and did a lot of work on Grandview as well, so I know that city staff is probably pretty comfortable working with him as well, and he knows the area, so.
Right. That is one of the things in terms
That's
of
kinda nice to have.
familiarity with the city. We will not have to, that time will be shortened for sure.
Sure.
Kevin, I'm just curious with what the Packers are doing west of the stadium. Has this created any new interest in this particular area? Anybody looking at it necessarily?
Well, yes, and I think just, with what, the Packers are doing, I mean, we've had generated interest just in the corridor as a whole, just basically the whole area between 41 and Broadway,
Right.
both sides of Lombardy. There's been renewed interest of, okay, what are we going to do next, or what other opportunities might there be here?
Okay, any other questions? Motion?
A second.
We have a motion by Tom, second by Gary, then to approve the request of staff to hire Verbicher to complete the Stadium Entertainment District Plan. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 4, revisions to the CDBG facade grant. I'll bet you that's Cheryl.
No. We've got Julia. So 4, 5, 6, and 7
You gonna take them all?
are all, related.
Oh.
They're listed just separately, but I just wanted Julie to go through and just talk about what we're going to be doing with these programs.
So to begin, and just to give you a little context, our facade grant and our demolition grant and our workforce development grant have not been utilized for years. And at this time, we took the opportunity to look at those funds and see how we could better get them out there and make sure that people are actually taking advantage of the opportunities that they can provide. So we reevaluated the terms, and we also reevaluated the maps that determined which areas would be eligible for the grants. If you look in your attachments, there's the new maps, and here are the old maps. Printed out some copies for you. And how I created these maps is I overlaid CDBG eligible areas with areas that are zoned commercial or downtown. So essentially, anything eligible that's commercial or downtown is potentially viable for these grants. And that's for the facade and demolition grants. The changes.
Just real quick clarification, so what Julie handed out, that's the old map.
Yep.
And I think that kind of gives some indication of like why it wasn't being used, and I think what she's done with the new map will show how we can really start to.
And the new map is in your packet.
Yep.
Yep.
Right. The old map didn't include downtown, which I think was probably the most obvious oversight. So we wanted to make sure to fix that because they weren't being used. Another reason we suspected the funds may have not been used is because they do kick in Davis-Bacon, and it was a 50-50 match. And given the fact that perhaps expenses would be higher, people are using Davis-Bacon, we decided to change the match criteria. So for the facade grant, it's now a 75% the city will fund and 25% funded by the private entity.
Davis-Bacon still applies though, I think.
Correct. And that's because it's using the CDBG funds. Also, we changed the program from a $20,000 maximum opportunity to a $5,000 opportunity because we wanted to spread the wealth. And in the guidelines, it does say that larger projects are open to consideration, but we wanted to maximize the number of opportunities that we had to use this grant. And also thought it would be a little bit more easy to get it out there in smaller amounts, smaller projects. And in terms of the eligibility that we changed, we added murals to eligibility, and we removed landscaping and parking lot maintenance just because we didn't want to be funding temporary improvements. We wanted to make sure that these are permanent fixtures to the buildings. As far as the demolition grant goes, we maintained the limit at $10,000, but we did change the match again to 75% for the city and 25% from the private entity from 50-50 previously. And one of the requirements for this project is that they must have new construction on the private project site. So, you know, we'll pay for the demolition, but we're not just going to create an empty lot.
Right.
Do you want me to keep going through all of them, or do you want to go?
Quick question, Jay, when you talk about with the demolition and with the facade, you said, like the facade is 5. Is that our contribution, or is that the project cost? 75 us, 25 them.
That's our contribution.
Okay, that's
Yeah, let me triple check the text, but yeah, the maximum grant available is $5,000, so. And then the workforce development, now this is a little bit different from facade and demolition. This would go to a community organization that offers workforce development training opportunities, and we have a different fund through CDBG for that. So there's about $96,000 that we have set aside for workforce training programs. Previously, there were very vague guidelines overseeing that money, and we just wanted to add some guidelines to make sure that the money was used in an appropriate manner. And included in those guidelines was a 50-50 match, which hadn't previously been there. So that way, hopefully, we can leverage a little additional funding to support new job training initiatives. And the final request was to create a design review board, and that's because in order to approve these, we feel it's important for staff with the expertise to provide design guidance can oversee the success of the project. The design review board would consist of myself, planner Stephanie Hummel, and Jason Flatt, who he does our historic preservation work. And then in the case that the grant application did fall in a bid district, we would request that the bid director also participate in that design review board. So what I'm asking you to approve today is the new terms to the facade grant, demolition grant, and workforce development grant, and also to approve the formation of a new design review board to first refer these to make recommendations to RDA when these applications come in.
Did you say how many dollars are in each one of these right now?
It's about $45,000 in the facade and demolition fund, and then
That's
about,
one fund?
yep,
Okay.
one fund for both of them, and then about 96 in the workforce development.
Thank you.
Have we had any problems in the past with funds?
So nice you already said it.
Julie, do we add to those funds every year as, no?
No, they've just been sitting there, and, hopefully if we can spend them down, then it gives us an opportunity to apply for more funds. So it's not a good thing to just have the money sitting in our...
Right,
Right,
yeah.
right, I agree.
We got to push it out there, and with the current map and the current guidelines, we don't feel it's effective.
So are we going to try to aggressively get the word out that this money is available? And
Yeah.
Come and get it?
I want to promote it completely now. And we've already had people express interest in the opportunity, and we're just waiting to get this through RDA and through council to really get the money out there. And
Good. It's good to put the money to use.
yeah,
Joe?
For eligible properties, is it still possible to modify the map at all? As I consider
I'll put Joe's house in
where
there.
we've got, but in the Walnut University Avenue, if you look at the street that runs out to Bay Beach, Irwin, North Irwin has quite a few commercial properties on it that are pretty run down. I know that Ms. Townsend had worked with Green Bay Lighting, the owner over there, and even just as far as this past summer, I mean, he's put in new signage now, but it's basically a big warehouse with retail spaces in the front of it that I see that may be eligible, and I see Days Electronics is down there, the former Beach Road Liquor, the old Amvets area,
I can
the
look-
Mi Pueblo restaurant, and there's a lot of commercial properties that have been probably neglected for quite some time.
so I created these maps using the CDBG eligible areas as determined by HUD.
Right.
However, I did kind of look for major corridors where there were a number of properties, and so it is possible that there could be other eligible properties that aren't included in the map, and I can look into that. But I can't confirm right now that they would be eligible because it is part of the federal regulation.
Can the map be modified sometime in the near future, or as the map is presented, are only these properties within these map zones eligible right now?
I mean, that was the request that we were making.
Right.
However, I could bring some revisions to RDA next month if that's deemed
If
necessary.
it's not time sensitive, I'd be really curious about that Irwin stretch, just as an area that, I've been the alderman there for 4 years, and we've been working on properties over there for 4 years, and it's just not really getting much momentum. And this is a program that I think those people could really take advantage of.
Definitely.
Why don't we just add it? Why don't we just add that? If it's
is
eligible
CDBG.
area. Why don't we just add it?
Just
If
if
Right?
eligible.
That wouldn't hurt to
Even
do
if
that.
even if it's not an eligible block grant area, this could be used citywide because of the national objective that they're going to have to fulfill at the end of it. It's not just because it's within that
So this
CDBG
is-
eligible area that it's going to be eligible for these types of grants. They're going to have to be able, it's either going to be on a slum and blight elimination, and then it's got to qualify underneath certain criteria under that national objective in order to qualify for these funds.
So these are staff recommendations of areas of concentration to work within.
Yeah.
But would you guys be opposed to just adding that section like north of Eastman?
Basically north of, I guess it would
Eastman to
stretch
Radisson,
from,
or-
it would stretch from University
Or
to
University to?
Radisson.
So can I ask for some clarification, because I think I've been kind of confused about this. They don't have to satisfy the eligible areas map and the national objectives, it's one or the other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, without going into a huge amount of detail.
Okay. And then we do have in the guidelines, it says that a project must satisfy a national objective for CDBG funding. So that is going to be a requirement that we'll scrutinize when we get the application.
Sure. And this should fall in, but it's a main thoroughfare from
Okay.
the city to, you know, Bay Beach. So it's an area that you probably want to have look a little nicer.
I think that's a great idea, Joe.
With respect to the review board, just a point of curiosity, we've downsized the program. Had we had any issues in the past with facade loans that the facade became an issue, an unpleasant issue for the city or anything?
Not that I can recall. I mean, we haven't packaged a facade loan for a really long time, but I think I want to think Broadway probably got a facade that I'm thinking of that we did facade loans.
And I'm not opposed to it, I'm just curious as to why we're interjecting, again, a review board to, you know, every time we do something like that, just like with historic buildings, you know, you hear the complaints and like, good, you know, hoops that you have to jump through, just one more hoop. And I just wanted the purpose that we decided to ask for a review board.
So
Wendy says she's got the answer.
Go ahead, otherwise it's part of the requirements when we reviewed what the requirements were for this, for the guidelines. And it says that we have to have a design review board, so we're just adhering to the guidelines of the program, right?
I'm not sure if that's CDBG like guidelines, but the previous guidelines for this program had a design review board. However, I asked all around City Hall and nobody had ever heard of the design review board. So I just wanted to make sure that we had the right processes in place to ensure that this is going to be successful. I think that it's important that the projects are given a good amount of scrutiny before the city just hands out the grants, and so I think it's important to have that review. For example, if it's on a historic project, we have a historic preservationist that can really lend an important insight into whether or not the project is viable.
Well, yeah, I know, I'm more curious about why all of a sudden, if we had had issues in the past, I'm not too sure I concur 100% that 3 people from City Hall review is any greater than the person who's investing in the building that's having facade work done, and their architects and their designers and all that kind of stuff. But that's neither here nor there.
Sure, just I think two things. You know, one, with the review board, yeah, I think it's just some accountability on our part in terms of, I don't want to get to a part where in a few years, like the design guidelines or these grants are just like, you can go to somebody at City Hall and they can just, you know, kind of administratively give out the money. It gives us a little more just on the back end. But we tried to make it like as least cumbersome as possible. Like, okay, 3 of us, the 3 of you can probably get together and just go through and I don't want to set up, again, the bureaucracy.
We've got ordinances to do all that stuff.
Correct. And I don't think this is adding any more layers, and I don't think the review board was what was stopping the program from going out in the past.
Okay.
I think it was more the balance of funding
Right.
and with the Davis-Bacon in terms of, you know, because a lot of these projects are people heavy in terms of the labor heavy, that shifting this amount, and I think we had talked and our team feels like, look, instead of, again, maybe putting it on these maybe big projects, let's just get it out and instead of doing 1 or 2, can we get like 9 just even small little projects done and make a bigger splash in a smaller way.
Any more questions? What I'd like to do is take all 4 individually and vote on those so that we're clear. So on number 4, revisions to the CDBG facade grant. Motion?
So moved.
Tom, second by
Jim?
Jim. Those in favor say aye. Motion carried. Number 5, revisions to the CDBG demolition grant.
So moved.
Gary
Second.
and Jim, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 6, revisions to the CDBG workforce development grant. Motion.
Second.
Whoever did.
Jim.
Jim. Joe. Those in favor say aye. Motion carried. Number 7, request to establish a design review board, as outlined by Kevin.
Approve.
Motion
Joe?
by Joe and Tom. Those in favor say aye. Motion carried. Number 8, request to purchase 716 Matthew Street for $50,000 using neighborhood enhancement funds.
All right.
as we.
Oh, wow, a new speaker.
Can I just go back on those approvals? Did we do anything to damage Joe's?
No.
Oh,
That should be modified, shouldn't it?
Motion as they were amended.
As recommended,
Map was
change?
amended.
Or the,
yeah, so,
Yeah, pulling in East, not Eastman, pulling in
North Irwin.
Beach Park, liquor store.
I seconded that, was understood in my second. Who motioned?
On the motions that we went through, you did it, oh, I'm sorry.
So it's understood as regards to 4 and 5.
It's
that
on
would
the
be
sites.
included in-
They're going to be modified, not those.
Yeah.
The new ones going to be
The new one.
modified to include
yeah.
North Irwin Street.
are included in
So we should have a motion on that then?
Jim says he put that in his second.
Yeah, I caught it here.
Second, that's
All right.
amended.
Well, then we have a motion and second then to modify the,
What he did.
No, I was,
Oh, we don't have to, he said he put that in his
Okay, so
second.
he did it.
The first, all of, whoever made the first motion just has to agree to this
Yes.
modification.
Yes.
That's it. Agreed to? Sorry.
you have the information, Cheryl?
I got it.
Okay,
So
those-
you're set.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Those in favor, is aye? Opposed, carried. All right. Clear that up. The city attorney's got to be happy. She's gonna leave.
It's like, what are you doing?
who hired this?
Okay, now on Matthew Street.
Yes, so the owner of 716 Mather Street approached the city, he's looking to get out of his property, and he's willing to sell it to us for land value. The land value being $15,000.
Is that right off of Ashland?
It's right on Mather, like, yeah, mid-block, I'm gonna say. It's
Yeah.
next to that
Mid-block.
apartment.
Right.
It's got the flat face on it.
That's the same block as the boutique.
Mhm.
Yeah. And this is right across the street from recent development, where NeighborWorks did some work across the street, not recent, but.
A couple of years ago, that.
Couple
That
years
big
ago.
property with the.
Yep.
Yeah, nice job.
So, when we purchase it, we will be, the plan is to tear it down.
Really?
It's- Yeah, it's
In bad shape.
Yes, yeah, the inside has been pretty much completely gutted. There are sections of the house that don't even have any floor. It's just, yeah, down to just your floor joists. So we would tear it down and offer it in the New Homes in Your Neighborhood program.
It's a buildable lot.
That's-
Yeah.
Preserve those little trees.
I know.
But keep the trees.
Don't worry, I
Yeah,
advocate
she's-
for trees, my staff.
Oh, what is that out there?
Secretary.
Any idea?
Um,
It's been around for a while.
It's pretty old. We
Yeah, it
always
is.
have Jason Flatt review our acquisitions to make sure we're not, tearing down the house washes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and he looked at this one and he said it's really been altered in such a way. that-
Who owns it now?
the owner is Bill Doyen.
And did he ever live there, or is it
He's never lived there, no, it's always, he's
It's not a
always,
rental.
yeah, it's a rental, so.
Doyen or Doyen?
Doyen.
Doyen. D-O-Y-E-N.
Where it's going with that.
It can't be worth very much if you get it for 15,000, man, oh man.
I make a motion to purchase 716 Mather Street for $15,000 using neighborhood enhancement funds.
Motion by Gary, second by
Second. By Joe.
Joe. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 9, request to deed portion of 1300 and 1308 East Walnut Street to the owners of 115 South Irwin Avenue. Cheryl.
That would be me.
Joe.
Oh, no, Joe.
Rock and roll.
Making rounds today.
So, we purchased 1300 and 1308 East Walnut, which is in red. That's the RDA owned lots. We took down a home at 1308. As you see, it's kind of an odd shaped section. We're trying to make it squared off and to actually build a new home on this lot. The owners of 115 South Irwin have a very small lot. I believe it's like 55 by 53. So their home just sits just on this little lot. They were looking to actually expand their land to add a driveway and to add a garage in the back. So what we'd like to do is the blue section is what we'd like to deed over to the owners of 115 South Irwin, so they could expand their parcel and to build a garage.
So it's a good move for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And because this was purchased with the Neighbor Initiative funds, the guidelines say that we can actually deed this over to them at no cost because they're a low to moderate income family. So we've checked their income, they qualify.
I assume the property assessment will end up going up, but,
Yes, they're aware
so,
of
I
that.
mean, just for the assessment, to give the land away for free, that's pretty fair, I think. I'd make a motion to approve item 9.
Second.
We have a motion and second then to approve the motion to deed a portion of 1300 and 1308 East Walnut Street to owners of 115 South Orwood. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Number 10, approve allocation of up to $70,000 of neighborhood enhancement funds for the beautification of medians along high-traffic corridors. What is that all about? Oh, that's not in the motion.
Did we talk about this 10 years ago?
Actually, we probably did. I
Yes,
think
we
we
did.
did.
Yes, we
We
did.
need back 12.
Yeah.
12, like, what's 12 kidding? Okay.
You
So
and Cheryl, what goes around comes around.
I stayed long enough just to do this, but, okay, so, I made the allocation of neighborhood enhancement funds, and a portion of that, actually $140,000 was set aside for beautification efforts, particularly the medians, and some of the spaces, maybe in District like 1 and 12 in the outlying areas, to beautify that. So Ken has put a plan together with regards to this that you see in your packet.
Can I just ask a question real quick before I get started? Just because I see Webster on there, and that's actually owned and maintained by the county.
Yes.
Is that going to be a hindrance in the city maintaining and putting in the expense of?
Let's say it's
taking care of that
owned
property?
by the county.
It's supposed to be maintained by the county,
Right.
exactly.
Yep, and so with all of the areas we identified here, there are a few other that are under DOT control. I talked with Steve Grenier about that issue, and we're gonna work out a deal with them, so then the city would be maintaining it. Basically, right now, the state gives funding to trim those medians twice a year, so that's why a lot of the times these areas, they get forgotten, and it just gives not really a nice appearance.
Was
when you're
that
entering
the
the
city's
city.
responsibility then, or the?
The
County.
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 a lot of those.
Yeah,
But they only receive funding for 2 cuts.
right. So for most of the year, this is just sitting, looking, not really a nice entrance to the city.
Yeah.
Where all our taxes go to the county for?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Just throw that out there.
I'm sorry, continue.
Right.
So these improvements would not include the new signage coming into the city?
Not signage, no.
Okay.
Medians.
These are just the plans.
This
Yeah.
is just plantings and medians. This is just, we're getting something in the ground to beautify this area, so.
These plants that come up every year, so we'd have to replant them?
Yes, yep, and that, I worked with Chuck Stengel in the Parks Department. He's the landscape architect. And we've come up with a design that is low maintenance. So as far as from year to year, eventually they'll pretty much take care of themselves. We'll have to hire someone to go out and basically deadhead them at the end of the year to prepare them for the next year, maybe add some wood chips. But other than that, after year 1, all of the watering and everything will basically take care of itself. So.
Can we look for neighborhood adoptions? I mean,
And that is, yes, that's possible.
And then
as
they
well.
can, if they want, they can improve the foliage, maybe
Absolutely.
something a little bit more.
I think that's part of the plan, is to get them established.
Right.
in the
Yeah,
party,
and
and then
then
they're easier to take care of.
If somebody goes in and says, all I gotta do is kind of maintain and improve, that's easier than the daunting task of, oh my God, what do we do?
Right.
What was done in these spaces was beautiful.
Yep, you sure.
Correct.
Right. And so as also part of this, we looked at plants, like I said, that were low maintenance, but also that are available in the area. So that actually brings our costs down. When you have a project of this size, there's going to be a lot of plantings, so we want something that's available to lower that cost, so.
Who's going to do all the work?
We're actually going to send the project out for RFP. So we'll, accept bids back from there. Chuck Stengel gave me some numbers as far as a high-end estimate basically for this. So we'll see where the bids come back.
Just said how you bring it back to us later.
Well, for this, we're just looking to, I guess, be able to go ahead with it so we can
Right.
get it in the ground as soon as possible.
That's
So, we're looking to allocate up to $70,000 on this, so. And the numbers I was looking at were right around 60,000, so that adds in a little bit of a buffer, so.
So where's the money now?
This is the neighborhood enhancement fund.
We got. good
Yep, we
funding.
have 140,000 allocated towards beautification,
Oh,
so
good.
we're asking for about just half of that.
I make a motion to approve allocation of the $70,000 of neighborhood enhancement funds for beautification of medians along high-traffic corridors.
Say amen to that.
Is that a motion, Gary?
Yes, it is.
All right, second?
I got it.
Joe seconded.
Do we have a motion and second then by Gary and Joe to authorize the spending of $70,000 for enhancement duty in the city? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Great. Yeah, let's see,
I just
number
wanted to-
11.
Hey, can I just give kudos to Ken?
Pardon?
Boy, this is a new thing for us,
No.
beautification. It's neat. There
Hey,
was a
Ken.
lot of moving parts, and you did a really
Well,
good job with it.
That's great.
And don't stop there.
That's beautiful.
Number 11, request to grant a one-month extension of the Integrity Home Builders on the planning option for 308 South Quincy Street. Kevin, I'll bet.
Nope, that's me involved. So we had a 3-month planning option with Integrity Home Builders on 308 South Quincy. They had, and I actually printed off their site plan, some site plan done. They're just having some issues with getting everything to fit with their proposed design right now. So we're just still ironing out some design details to get everything to work out.
So it's still a go project.
Yep, still a go project. They're still excited about it.
Great.
So.
This was the original design they submitted, but I think the newest sign they submitted actually had the garage in the front of the house.
Yeah, that's not on this site plan though. This site plan is still the original.
Right, so we just have to work that out and move some things around.
And then can we get an alley back there too?
Yes, I think they would like that.
That would probably be.
That's for motion?
Yeah, I'd love it. Motion to.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Jim. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. As for motion, accept the financial report and check register as provided. Everybody look at it. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Gary. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Director's report and project updates. Kevin, you must have a lot to say. Huh?
We're already at 3 o'clock, so I'm going to try and keep it short, but I'll be happy to answer questions. Just 2 things on KI Convention Center. Just kind of a minor, but a little more than a minor repair. It's going to be coming out of the maintenance fund for KI. The skylight that's in the existing center above kind of the, I guess, pre-function area, whatever you want to call it, is cracked. So we're going to need to repair that.
The part of the new part?
No, the existing.
Oh.
The existing skylight up in front.
Is that in the staging on the west side or the east side by the hotel?
I believe it's the east one.
Big.
Yep.
That's a pretty good size
Yeah.
skylight there.
So it's going to be probably $5,000 to $6,000 to repair, which we're going to need to move forward with that. And then the other is, Hyatt had asked, it's been a while since, I guess, this is before my time, so RDA has had a meeting at the KI, so if you would like to, this is for the chair, schedule either June or July. They have some available dates, or those second Tuesdays are available if you want to have the RDA over at KI. So they accommodate us. So if those don't work out, and we can do something this fall.
Oh, it should.
They miss us and they want to see us again, so.
Oh, we should.
Yeah,
We
either
should
June
do
or
that every
July.
year, Kevin.
Yep.
Really. Yeah. And invite Vanessa to come on with us.
Oh, yeah, well, she's gonna be sitting right here next to me and,
Yeah, she can't get out of it now.
no.
Wouldn't want to.
Better dig her eyes at me.
Yeah, other than that,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just moving along, the latest project, just all the pieces kind of in place. As you know, with the festival, Quick Trip, small shops, everything finally got ironed out at last council meeting, and so now we're just working through some logistical details about just the closings and the street closures and everything that goes into actually moving the construction project forward now. But that, just as far as from a city perspective, is really all lined up. So just thank you for your support of that.
Kevin, anything be coming to us on the sports entertainment district over here on Broadway?
Yeah, so that started here, I guess it was just last month, seems forever ago. Went to city council, that letter of intent was referred to finance. It wasn't accepted, but it was referred to finance. We met at the last finance committee meeting and discussed just kind of, all right, well, what is the project? And kind of the same presentation we did here. Finance committee had a number of questions. One from the operator side, Big Top Baseball, what type of events and what things were they going to be doing there and expected crowds and how are they going to operate the center. And then from the city, some things that we've been working on is, okay, what does this mean for economic impact in the area in terms of just One, the area that the property that the RDA itself owns and development opportunities there, but then also greater, just kind of in that neighborhood and what that might mean for stimulating some property values there as well. That is back in at finance again tonight. I'm not sure, they basically held it at the last meeting to answer some of those. I think some of those has been answered. I think some of those, we still have some work to do because we're not quite there yet. But I guess we'll see what happens with finance and where they take it tonight. With that, we're still working on it, and I think just in fairness to both parties, the city or the RDA and the developer, to have council, take a look at this. By the date we had said in the letter of intent, I think we put May 18th, that by May that we just kind of get some direction. Are we going to be moving forward with this or not?
I got to follow up, Cheryl, on the number 10 beautification at the medians. I wonder if at the next meeting, if you could report back on part of beautification, the signage coming into the city. It's very inconsistent, and it could really be improved, especially compared to other cities and other villages, etc. So it just be reporting back, what do you guys think of it, and how should we proceed with that? Because I think it's part of the enhancing beautification.
Yep, that's certainly something we'll need to talk with ED about.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's something we have talked about it already, so that's kind of in motion. Yeah, we'll bring a report back.
Just report back.
Yep.
Okay, Tom?
Anything else?
I have one more, I have one thing.
Okay.
Remember we awarded the RFP for 1728 Carriage Court? It was one on the far west side. They actually had to do a little bit more work than they were expecting to do, but they have an accepted offer on that property for 192.
Already?
Oh, wow.
They're not
They
completed
didn't even
yet.
finish construction.
Oh, 92, wow.
Yay!
Yeah.
Texas.
Yes, hey!
That's above the neighborhood median, isn't it?
Krista wants to adjourn the meeting?
Should be, yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Dr. K, what's with the,
It looks like I got a necktie today?
Yeah.
A bow tie?
Yeah.
I've been